Hey, good morning. Welcome to another day of math. So today we're going to be looking at a clock again. So just as a review, I want to ask you a couple of questions. So how do you know the difference between the hands on the clock? So how do we know the difference between these two hands? Well, the shorter, thicker hand is called the minute. The shorter, thicker hand is called the hour hand, and he tells us the hour. The longer, thinner hand is called the minute hand. So, is that an O clock? Yes, it is. So how do you know that that isn't an O clock? Because the minute hand is pointing to the 12. That means it's an O clock. So what time is it? It's 9 o'clock. So how do you know the hour? The hour hand is pointing to the 9. So that says 9 o'clock. So what time is this? How do you know the hour for this one? Well, it's kind of pointing between the two, but it's just past the 9, so it is still 9 o'clock. How about this? I put my minute hand over there. What hour is it? It is still 9 o'clock. It is closer to the 10, you're right, but it is still 9 because it will not be 10 until the minute hand gets to the top. Now it's 10 o'clock. It has not gotten there yet, so the hour is still 9. So now I have a question. How many minutes in an hour? And you brave people and smart people are looking at my clock going, Mrs. Van Andel, there's 60. You're right, there are 60 minutes in an hour. And there are two ways that you can go about figuring that out. And probably the one you do is you go like this. You count fives around the clock. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Or if you could say 8 times 5 is 40. 3 times 5 is 15. 11 times 5 is 55. So you wouldn't have to know them all, it's your 5 times table. So there are different ways that you can figure out the 5-minute intervals around the clock. And I think most of you just count fives around because it's the easiest for you. So I'm going to show you a time on my clock, and there it is. So if you want to write this time down in numbers, which hand do you read first? Do you read the minute hand first or the hour hand first? When you're writing down the time, which one do you write first? You always write the hour hand first. Always. Never write the minute hand. So this hour hand is not exactly pointing at this number, but what hour would you say this is? You're right, hour is 7. So on my paper, when you write time, hour is always first. So I'm going to put 7. The hour is 7. And then when you tell time, you have to have these 2 dots on top of each other following that. So if I go back to my clock, I said the hour is 7. What is the minutes? And because my clock has the answer on it, you say, oh, there are 10 minutes. But if you didn't have that number, you could go 5, 10. So that's 10 minutes. Because we know that it's pointing to the 2, we also see the 10. But if you were looking at my watch, you would not be able to see, they don't have those numbers on the outside, so I'd have to count 5, 10, and I would know that's 10. Okay, now what time would you, and so then I would put in this blank here that it was 7:10. So what time would you say this clock time would be? Still pointing it's still at the 7th hour, so we're going to say it's 7, ... And how many minutes? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes. Still 35 minutes, so that would be 7:35. Now, if we wanted to do this one, our hour is almost at the 8, but not quite, because this guy hasn't made it to the top yet. So the hour is still 7, and the minutes are 10 times 5 is 50. So that would be 50. Now, if my big hand makes it all the way to the top, now it is an hour. What time is my hour hand telling you now? Now it's telling you it's 8 o'clock. And when you tell 8 o'clock, up here you have 0 minutes. But in time, you never just put 1 minute behind there. You always have to put 2 zeros. There's always got to be 2 numbers behind this symbol. Always 2 numbers. So if you have to write that it's 8 and 5 minutes, you don't go 8 and 5. You'd have to say it's 8 and 5 minutes. Always has to have 2 back there. Remember that. Okay, now you're going to look at these 6 clocks and you're going to figure out what the time is in numbers. So you're going to write the time in numbers. So I'd like you to pause and then come back and we'll see if you got them right. So pause. Okay, so I'm looking at this. My hour hand is halfway between the 1 and the 2, so it means I know it's still 1 o'clock. The hour is still 1, and it's down here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, so it's 30 minutes. Hope you got that one. So here my hour hand is between the 4 and the 5, so I have to say it's still the 4th hour. And it's gone, 7 times 5 is 35 minutes. This one is just past the 10, so that's the hour is 10, and 5, 10 minutes, 10, 10. Here is just past 6, so the hour would be 6, and 5 times 5 is 25. Here, oh, it's getting close to that 2, but this hasn't made it to the top yet, so it's still the 1 hour, hour 1, and it's gone all the way over to there, so I could count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So it's gone 50 minutes past the hour 1. This one is just past the 11, so I would say it's 11. And 8 times 5 is 40, so it's 40 minutes past 11. So I hope that you got all of those correct. Awesome. Okay, what time does my phone say it is? Oh, I still got time. Awesome. Okay, now we're back to the sheet here. So this would be your time. How would you say that time? You don't say 7:10. I know a lot of people do, but that is not the correct way to tell time. You don't say it's 7:10. What you do say is it is 10 minutes after 7, which is a short form. Mathematicians have said that's okay. It's a short form for writing 10 minutes past or after 7 o'clock. So you don't have to write out the whole word 7 o'clock. They just say 7. So when you're saying time, when you write time, the hour is always first. So when you write time, the hour is first. When you say time, the minutes is first. So writing, the hour goes first. Saying, the minutes comes first. So I have 4 times down here. I'm going to ask you to pause and see if you can figure out how you would say those times in words. Okay. So you're back. Awesome. So this one, I'd have to say the minutes first. So it's 20 minutes after my hour, 8. I hope you got that. Here my minutes is 45 minutes after 7 o'clock. This one is 10 minutes after 9. And this one is 40 minutes after 12. Now, if you were to be out there in not doing a math sheet where they asked you to do this, these would be perfectly fine. As soon as we get past the 30 on the clock, we don't say after anymore. So when we're here, we don't say that that is 35 minutes after. Once you go past the 6, we now start saying how many minutes is it to the next hour. That is, people understand that a lot easier, how many more minutes they have to go to the next hour. So for these ones, this would be correct. it's a correct way, but it's not the way that we use in telling time today. So instead of saying that 7:45, which would be like this on my clock, there's 7:45, I don't say that's 45 minutes after 7. I now say it is how many minutes to 8. So it's 5, 10, 15 minutes to 8 o'clock. So it's 15 minutes to 8. So this is the more correct way of writing it. We tend to say when you go past the 30, then you say how many minutes to. And this one is 12:40. So my clock is looking like that. And I would say how many minutes do I need to go to the hour? So it's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to the next hour, which is 1. So I ask you to pause and come back. We have one more activity before I show you what you're going to do. So come back to video part 2.